guys.
Welcome to our little two-part special that we mentioned. Apologies for needing last week off. It kind of goes into the topic that we wanted to talk about today, which is heavily going to play into mental health and everything that kind of coincides with that. Yeah, I guess like jumping right in on it.
Before we get started,
Oh yeah, please go
we're
ahead.
going to bring up some topics of conversation that are not necessarily the easiest topics for some people. So, fair warning before we actually start, and I will put some content warnings in the some specific content warnings in the episode description as well, just so that everybody can be aware of what we are going to be talking about beforehand, so that we don't accidentally make anyone uncomfortable or worse.
Yes, definitely.
Cool.
Yeah. I guess let's just jump right in. I'm sorry, I usually just jump right in because and first topic of discussion is therapy because I personally have been going to therapy for a couple years at this point, and I can't stress how important I find therapy to be. Even, those who don't struggle with mental health things, I think it's so important, even in just day to day life, of being able to communicate with other people in a way that you're expressing what you're wanting to say without being hurtful. Or, I feel like a lot of people sometimes bulldoze other people when they're just trying to vocalize their own feelings or something. But,
Absolutely. Which
yeah, and
causes those people to then kind of shovel all of their feelings and everything inside and not talk about them anymore,
yeah,
because all it takes is one person to make someone feel stupid or anything else, like when they're trying to express something like stuff like that. All it
exactly.
takes is one person doing that to make you never want to talk about it again.
Right. And like it can cause animosity where you never intended it to be there. Like and another part of it is like narcissists though too. I've had my fair share in my life.
Yep.
But like with you, what you said about the a comment, just even one thing that you can say that just sticks with somebody. I remember my mom when I was younger, and she told me, I went to go get a granola bar after school one day. I was like, oh, I'm a little bit hungry after school. I just want a quick snack. I go to the pantry. I grab like one of those 25% reduced fat, chewy chocolate chip granola bars.
Oh, those are so good.
I know. And so I grab one, and my mom is upstairs and she hears the wrapper crinkle. And she's like, what are you eating? And I was like, a granola bar. And she's like, if you keep eating like that, you're going to be the size of a house when you grow up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've never forgot that. And that was literally when I was like 12, 13.
And honestly, that, like, it's unfortunate how often and with how many people it happens to be like your parents or your siblings or somebody that theoretically should be really close to you are the ones making those kinds of comments and judgments and all that kind of stuff. For me, it was always my dad.
Yeah.
He's made similar comments, if not worse comments about other things, which is why, like, I am definitely one of those people that has a hard time talking about pretty much anything with anybody until I'm absolutely sure that it's somebody that I can trust and be comfortable opening up to.
Right.
Which is not a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. No, I get it. Like, I, with my therapist, I say recently, but it was like maybe a couple months ago, but in my therapy journey, it is recent. Trying, I think it's EMDR. I always say it wrong.
Yep. EMDR,
Yeah,
that's right.
yeah. So like you focus on a memory in your past where you feel like a lot of your trauma starts and everything. And the memory that I picked, because I have a lot of like body image issues and self-conscious thoughts constantly, like it's almost it almost feels debilitating to me because I feel like it's really limiting me with like romantic relationships a lot. And even recently, like it's flaring up so bad that like, I mean, to be very candid with everybody, this is part of where the content warning comes from. But like, it has made my like suicidal thoughts and tendencies flare up. And oh fuck, I'm gonna cry. Oh my god, we're
We are
starting
5
already.
minutes in.
God damn it. Like, that's my point though, is like I literally go to therapy and I have improved so much. When I talk to my therapist, she's like, you are talking in a more confident way than you would look at yourself 2 years ago and be like, that's who I want to be, right? Like, that's how
Yeah,
I've grown. It's how I
which is
present myself.
awesome.
Right. Like,
Kudos to Bessie's therapist, because I know she's probably listening at some point or another.
at some point when she's walking her doggo, yes. So, like even going to therapy so much and growing as a person, I'm still struggling with a lot of things. But like the memory I picked was when my mom, like I went to go get my first bra because my chest started finally growing in, but not enough to get like a real bra, which was really
You can get that
upsetting.
training. Yeah.
I had to get, we got like sports bras from like Sam's Club, which I guess was fine,
Yeah.
whatever. But like she turns and looks at me and I'm trying this on and she's like, that makes your boobs look like a shelf. And I was like, wow, okay, cool. I literally hate everything
Oh
about
my
my body
god.
because of you.
What a comment.
I know. And I'm like,
A shelf.
I was like, why would you say that to your like 12, 13-year-old daughter?
Right. That's not
Why?
helping anything.
No. I have so many body image issues because of her. And like, um, this is really going heavy in on like my mom trauma, but it is what it is, I guess.
We are here for the mommy issues. We love it.
We're here for the mommy issues, you guys. She told me one time too, because I wanted to go out for tennis when I was in like
Oh,
my
yeah.
sophomore junior year, and she was like, I practiced every single day when I was in school, and I didn't make the team. And I was like, okay, well, we're in the day and age of like participation trophies. Everybody makes a team.
Right. And like tennis, I feel like tennis is is one of those like team sports, I guess, for like school if you have a tennis team or something like that, that like it's not, I feel like that's I don't know, easy is the wrong word, but like
It's not as like physically intensive as like
right, it's easy to be more inclusive than other sports that are like heavily like
heavy
there's
on running.
like soccer, like you
Yeah,
have to be able to like have running stamina to keep up for stuff like soccer.
exactly.
I personally did when I was a kid. um like, so that's the problem with that I have in terms of like body image issues, is that um like when I was younger I was significantly smaller than I am now.
Hmm.
And like I did sports, like when I was a kid I did I was in dance, I did lacrosse, I did baseball, volleyball, I did all kinds of stuff when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And then like I realistically know that it's more of a genetic issue in my case. Um, like coming after like getting into my teenage years and stuff, uh my mom's side of the family like the like metabolism started slowing down and catching up to like it's like yeah, it's not like people look at bigger larger people and assume that they like live unhealthy lives, all that kind of stuff. They're not like
Mm-hmm.
active or anything. It's not always the case, but people still make you feel like crap about it.
Oh yeah, I
And
definitely
it's
know how that
just,
is.
yeah, which then feeling like crap about it, that's what leads people into unhealthy habits and stuff when they start having those mental health issues around that subject.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I literally started to eat food to feel better and made like an emotional connection with food
Yeah.
and would overeat and like it would give me like the satisfaction of eating and being satisfied with food was where I was getting comfort. And so it like I was always kind of a bigger kid anyways, like a chubby as a kid, and like it just carried. And then
Yeah.
um yeah, like so when my mom she was like, I have more talent in my pinky finger than you have in your entire body. Like that's devastating
That's
to hear as like a
that's
15
also
year old.
just like, oh my God, like that specific sentence. I know, like you hear it in like movies and TV shows all the time. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's used as a insult, but it's really just stupid because people have different talents. Sure, you may be better at some things than I am, but that doesn't mean that you're just generally more talented or better person.
Mm-hmm.
It just means that there are specific things that you have more skill in than I do.
Right. And I'm like,
And
you're
pointing it
saying
out to people is not helpful in any way.
right. And again, saying this to your teenage daughter when she's asking to do a sport and wants to be, more active, that's whack. That's literally crazy.
Yeah. And
And
that's like, honestly, that's just, there are just people in this world that should not be parents
mhm,
or like teachers or any kind of like any similar roles to that. There are people that just should not be in those positions because they are judgmental and like stuck in old ways of thinking, and it's just a problem.
mhm. And I think I think it was kind of a situation too of like she was upset that it didn't go well for her, so I wasn't allowed to do it either.
Right.
And like I made the team cuz that was right before she left and moved to
Yeah.
Michigan. And then I went out for the team anyways. Made it. Did pretty well actually. Won a bunch of my matches. And I'm like, I feel like if I had started this a lot sooner, I could probably be on the JV or varsity team
Right.
as a
But
junior and
then you
senior.
had that tear down comment from
Yeah,
her at a young enough age that it stopped you from doing things as early as you probably could have,
exactly.
which then stunted how far you could go with it.
Right. And like it just shows that like it's kind of a strange comparison, but it's a really good one where like you're always going to remember the negativity in a situation than like all of the good, because I can compare that to like restaurants I've gone to where like I have really good service or like, it's good service. I remember the really really outstanding times, and I always remember every negative possible thing that happens. I
Yep.
remember that shit. Or like with my ex who gaslit me, I remember every negative thing that he fucking said to me, but I can't really tell you the times that we had like fun and like actually goofed off, like because I know there was redeeming qualities that he had that I liked spending time with him for, but the negative outweighed the bad, which is obviously why we're not together. But
Well, and
even at
that's
this
what
point,
happens with like people that have and it comes up a lot with anxiety and depression
Mm-hmm.
specifically, is uh, like overthinking.
Yeah.
And you tend to dwell on those negative comments and experiences way more than the positive ones, because of the way that your brain is remembering them, is that when it happens, you're thinking of like, oh, what did I do to cause this situation? What can I do to not cause this situation again? Is this person like, are they mad at me? Do they hate me? What is happening? All of these things and so many more of similar things are just circling through your head over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why those are stuck there. Whereas the positive experience, you're in the moment and you enjoy it and it's great, but you tend not to overthink those as much as the negative ones.
Yeah.
So they just kind of get lost behind the thinking about everything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's fair. I was watching a video the other day too that said, um, she was talking about how when the mind processes everything, it holds on to. So it was like when you are with somebody and like um you romanticize the relationship with them almost,
Yeah,
and almost like forget all of the bad, but then she's like, you're literally sitting there though, daydreaming about the possibilities and who you wanted them to be and the potential self that you've imagined in your head. And everything that we think, say, imagine is being reinforced as it's being reinforced in our brains, and it holds on to that.
yeah,
So this person who treats us poorly, we remember this really great version of them that doesn't exist. And I know that I've done it with people where I'm like, oh, but this and that and that. In my head, that's what I have. But right in front of me is negativity and not showing up and, you know, ignoring me and not, not wanting me. But I've created someone in my head who does want me. And so it's
yeah,
like kind of it's counterintuitive, but like that's how powerful and impactful the brain is. Just like if you convince yourself that you feel so sick and you just feel terrible and all that, and you start to feel terrible, you can make yourself sick. You can also convince yourself out of being sick because I've done it. And it's crazy how impactful the mind can be over the entire body. And part of me wishes that it helped with depression more. It
yeah,
does for, like, it does to a degree, but there's actually chemical imbalances that you can't always talk yourself out of. Um, and like one thing that my therapist is like, she's really enforced in my mind is that, like, to kind of get to know my depression and, figure out what exactly it's trying to tell me, as opposed to letting it kind of envelop me completely and just sink into it. She's like, listen to it. Like, depression, like, it usually is flaring up because, you know, I've found that mine flares up really badly when I'm very unhappy with my circumstances and I start overthinking and doubting myself and everything like that. And I'll like take a look around and be like, what exactly is it that's like bad right now that's making it so much worse? And a lot of the time it has to do with like a lot of stress at work, feeling very undervalued at work. And then like I'll go and have my one-on-one monthly meeting with my manager and he like says I'm doing good, I get good scores on things, everything like that, and my mood is immediately changed. And it's hard though because like I've had depression since I was 13. It was like so bad that I would come home from school, lay on the floor in the living room, take a nap until my mom got home, wake up like groggy as fuck, and then like not want to be around her because we would fight every day, and just like trudge upstairs and start doing my homework. And it was horrible for my sleep cycle. And it was It was so bad. As soon as my mom left, as soon as she moved to Michigan, I was living alone. My dad worked on the road. I lost like 30 pounds. I was not nearly as depressed. It was still there, obviously, because it doesn't just go away.
Right.
Um, but I was not nearly as depressed. I didn't come home just exhausted, like mentally fully drained. My grades all went up. Like I was doing like C's and B's. I was up to A's and B's then after that. Um, like it's a huge part of how negativity surrounding you and people who bring you down can really, really heavily affect your mindset and your mental health.
Yeah. Well, and it was the same for it's a big part of uh my where my anxiety stems from is around like my difficulties when I was younger with my sexuality
Mm-hmm.
because of my parents.
Yeah.
And um I like it got to the point that I still have never actually had an actual conversation with my parents about the fact that I'm gay. Never.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I know that they know, which is whatever, but just because of like comments being made by mostly my dad, honestly, when I was younger, um, and people at school and all that kind of stuff, it just bottled up so much that it took a good solid 7 or 8 years before I told anybody.
Yeah.
And with my parents specifically, amongst other things than just the sexuality and stuff, when I first moved out of my parents' house, it was like a huge relief. And then I didn't move very far away from them, so I was still like around all the time. So it wasn't like I like then noticed another big difference when I went away to college
Mm-hmm.
and got even more distance and freedom and more room to kind of explore myself away from all of these like issues from my past and where all of my mental health issues started from. The
Right.
further I got away from, the more time I spent away from not even just my parents, but just like in general, other like stemming issues, the better, the little more easier it becomes to kind of deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And then I moved across the country last year, and I feel way more at ease and myself and less um, like stressed and anxious that out here than I did when I lived back home.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, it's still there because, like I said, it doesn't just go away.
Uh-uh.
But like, it just gets easier and easier to deal with in different situations.
Yeah. And like it's a constant growth thing. And like I think with part of your situation too, um, as well as my own, but something that my therapist mentioned and I think is affecting both of us is that the more that you grow into yourself and continuing to better yourself and wanting better for yourself, the lonelier it gets.
Yeah,
And that is something that's really hard, especially because I feel like both of us are a little bit more empathetic than a lot of people. Um, it's hard to, feel like you give a lot to people around you and, to almost get less and less. And when you're like, well, I'm going to prioritize myself. And like that feels selfish to me.
well,
And
right, it
selfish
does, and
seems negative.
that's why it doesn't happen very often. Like I rarely prioritize myself,
Yeah.
because for me and for the longest time, it's easier to help other people with their problems than deal
Mm-hmm.
with my own.
Yeah, easily. I will do 110 for someone else and
Yeah,
then turn around, and when it's the same situation for myself, situation. If it's a similar situation for me, I'm like, ew, I don't want to do that.
right, exactly.
And it's so interesting because while going to therapy, I have found moments where I'm like, I'm going to be selfish right now. I'm going to take care of me right now. I'm going to give myself the grace and, recognize what my needs are. And I feel bad about it. And I don't want to feel bad about it. But
Right.
like I do
Well, because
because I
it
feel
like
like I'm neglecting other people at the same time when I'm
right,
not.
exactly. That's
But why
that's the
should I
thing.
but
I
why should
feel
we
that.
neglect ourselves? Because I feel like that's what we're all doing a lot of the time.
Yeah,
And it's hard. None of this is easy.
it's hard being a people pleaser.
Yes. It's hard being someone who, cares for others, wants
Yeah,
best for others, and then also you want best for yourself. And like
yeah. But
I was
it's
thinking,
a lot. It's a lot harder to like. First of all, figure out what it is that you need from yourself,
right.
and then it's even harder to then give yourself that when you feel like you're letting everybody else in your life down by doing that.
Exactly. Well, and then also having been a people pleaser for so long, you're like, how do I know what I do need?
Right.
And then you just kind of stand there like aimlessly, like, I don't know. This is new. This is weird. It's not comfortable.
But that's where I feel like
The
having
most growth.
that extra person, like your therapist, kind of would
Yeah.
be a big help to kind of figure out what it is that you need. And I definitely would like to at least give therapy a shot if I can
Hmm.
find the right person for
Right.
me. Um, I just never have, mostly because of uh, well, it's easy to blame it on financial issues because it's expensive, but
It
at the
is.
same time, it's not the only issue. I also just have a problem with not being able to be open and talk to people about things.
Hmm.
So it's incredibly terrifying thinking about the prospect of going and talking to a complete stranger about all of this stuff from my life that
Yeah.
I don't even tell some of my closest friends.
Yeah. I think that's one thing with with therapy too, is like a little reminder of if you have a therapist or if you meet someone, a therapist, and you just don't vibe well,
Get a
do
different one.
not get a different one. Do not take that as a loss. Do not take it as, oh, therapy doesn't work. Oh, it's not for me. No, this
Right.
person isn't for you. Because
Exactly.
I, I mean, I'm a talker, but like, I literally, okay, this happened to me when I went to my gynecology appointment.
God. Is that the same gynecology appointment from
From
the
a
other
couple weeks
story?
ago. Potentially, yeah. Um, yeah, I think so actually, because that's my most recent gyno. But
Nice.
I went in on like Friday to get my birth control implant out because it was way expired. The OBGYN that I was talking to at that point, super nice lady, laughed and stuff, but like I wasn't fully 100% comfortable. Like we like got along, but like when you sometimes just click with somebody, I
Right.
was missing that. And then I scheduled a new appointment and I did it with a different doctor. Not because I didn't think that she was good, but I wanted to be at the same location and she was not going to be there that day at the time that I wanted. So I was like, I want to go to the same location. It's like 5 minutes away instead of 20. And it's the best for me for like time frame with work. So I switched doctor. I show up. I'm nervous again because I'm like, it's a new lady. She's going to be checking on my hoo ha. I'm nervous. Okay. Like, I'm very self conscious about my entire body. And that is another area of self conscious. So, like, but she comes in And we're laughing about having the same name, like right off the bat. She says, "Hi, I'm blank." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, same." And like, we just start joking. And then we get into talking, and I'm just pouring everything out to her. And I was like, "I did not do this with the last lady. And the last lady didn't even look at my hoo ha. This lady, I'm already in just like a small
Right.
robe. Like,
But they're just, you feel more comfortable with some people than others, and that there's nothing
exactly.
wrong with that.
Yeah. And so, like, that's one huge thing with therapy is, finding someone who you really do feel that comfortability with, that kind of like natural vibe with, and who you do feel comfortable opening up to, because you just know sometimes
Yeah.
if someone is going to be like, you click with them, which is incredibly important for therapy in my opinion, because you are laying out everything, all of your
Yep.
feelings, all of your emotions, all of the mental struggles that you go through, the things that you think about on a daily basis, the depression you've had for years and years, bringing up really difficult, traumatizing situations. It's not easy. I can't count the amount of times that I've sat and cried to my therapist because, like, I'm trying to explain something and it's just that difficult, but I want to talk about it.
Yeah. And I am unfortunately one of those people that just doesn't talk about anything to anybody.
It's so funny how similar we are, and I literally will tell anybody everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, I don't know. I just I'm it's just scary,
It is.
and
I,
it's just not comfortable.
and to be honest, like, I didn't actually start going to therapy till I think I was 25 or 26, because
Yeah.
I mentally wasn't ready from when I was like 22 to 24. Because I was dealing with my first boyfriend's suicide, and I was wrecked. I was devastated because in that situation too, I romanticized the relationship a lot, and it was a really good relationship. It was really hard because of his sickness, because he had multiple sclerosis, and it was really debilitating, and it just was too much. And I had my hoe. I laugh about it now because I had a hoe phase for like 3 years after. But like, mentally, I was in survival. I didn't do anything except eat, sleep, and work because I didn't want to be a burden to anybody else. I didn't want anybody to have to take care of me financially. And I was not good because I don't even remember those years because I wasn't like really fully conscious of everything that I was doing, because I was just going through the motions. And it only stopped because I got an STD.
God.
It was chlamydia and it was treatable.
Damn.
But I like cut my whole face cold turkey and then was like, I should probably start like not sleeping with anybody.
Well, see, I attempted to have a hoe phase when I was in
Uh-huh.
college, and I came to realize about myself that I do not enjoy having a hoe phase.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I need the
Emotional
relationship
connection.
part,
Yeah.
the emotional connection.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so then that just also made me just feel like crap about myself. So it's just like,
I get it.
what's wrong with me? I don't know.
I know.
So many things.
No.
Right.
No.
It's easy to joke about things and make light of things that you
It
shouldn't be
is.
joking about, or make light of things when it's about yourself.
I know. Like, I'll sit there and
Self-deprecating
rag on
humor is
myself.
right, for real. That's staple of my personality.
It's a fine line because you talk to your friends about it and they're like, shut the fuck up. No.
Right.
And you're like, but it's funny.
Right.
I'm trying to make a joke, okay?
They look at you like, you should be like do you need us to have you
Do you need
committed or
help right
something?
now?
Like,
Do you want to talk about it? And you're like, no,
it's like,
I'm
no, of
laughing
course
about
not. Why would I want to talk about it? That's the exact opposite of what I want to be doing about it.
it. Did you even hear what I said?
Right, for real. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but back to therapy. I'm so sorry. I can go on a tangent about anything. Um, I mean, it just reinforces that it helps so much to be able to talk to somebody, even if you don't have any mental health struggles. Um, just being able to have like someone to talk to in a stressful situation or something that's just really like something you're not able to work through on your own, having someone who's unbiased, unaffiliated, completely separate of the situation to give you unbiased advice, challenge you on your own thinking, even that alone is so important because your friends are biased in your favor most of the time unless they're a shitty friend. um your family's going to be rooting for you unless they're shitty. God, there's a really big if here. Like
There's a whole
everybody.
big list of people that are going to be really helpful to you, unless they're shitty people.
See, because like yeah, exactly. Like I have a bunch of people that I would go to and be like, I value your opinion. I would never go to my mom for anything like that or my grandmother because I'd be like, when are you going to start judging me? When are you
Right,
going to start telling
exactly.
me horrible things or pretend like none of it happened? That's the
And
one that
that's
really
like,
gets me.
that's the thing with like my parents. Yeah, like I talk to my parents, but we don't have conversations.
Right. It's hugely
That's
different.
right. That is the like kind of describing line that I used when I describe my relationship with my parents, because like we talk about things that don't really matter.
Yeah.
We never talk about anything of substance,
Hmm.
and especially if it pertains to my personal life,
Right.
because it's like I basically it's none of their business because I don't want it to be.
Right. But then it's also like they have every opportunity to try and ask about it, and it's almost like they don't.
Well, and even if they do, I just kind of shrug it off and change the
Oh,
subject.
well,
But they don't ask about it very often.
okay. Yeah,
The only
because,
time they do is when they have ulterior motives. Like, for example, the last time that I can really remember that they tried to take a bigger interest in my personal things
hmm,
is when they were trying to talk me out of moving uh, across the country.
what was their ulterior motive?
They didn't want me to, I don't know what their end goal was, but they did not want me to move.
Did they not give you a reason why?
They gave me a bunch of bullshit. It's like, oh, you have no support system out there. Okay, but I do because I'm moving out there with a close friend. That is
Hmm.
my support system. I also already have a close friend that lives out there. I have, just because they are not you does not mean that I do not have a support system, because you're not all that supportive to begin with.
Right.
Like when I finished high school, I very heavily wanted to pursue music.
Hmm.
I wanted to go to college and study music, get like my degree, my arts degree in either music performance or maybe even teaching music. I wasn't super sure which, or both. I don't know. Um, and they shut me down so hard that like I just felt like shit about the whole thing. It's like, oh, like I'm not good enough at anything to really like to pursue this. Like it's going to be a waste of my time. It's going to be a waste of money. These are all things that they told me, that it's a waste of time and a waste of money, basically. Um, and that all came around to me not being good enough.
Yeah.
Um, which like I know that I'm good enough at um like music things. That was like the entire time going through school, 90% of my extracurriculars, they're all like music stuff, whether it was concert band or jazz band or drumline or anything else. I spent hours and hours of my life practicing and in rehearsals and performing, which they also never came to any of my performances.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah. um so that's it. Like, yeah, they were not support they've not never really been supportive of anything that I actually want to do with my life. So why should I feel like they should be involved in anything in my life, really?
Right. No, that's totally fair. I get that. Yeah, it's strange because I feel like our parents' generation, and I guess like I don't know what generation it is, like Gen X. I don't know, it doesn't fucking matter. Um it's almost like they're so set in their own ways of how things should be and how they think everything is that like even with my dad, I have a pretty close relationship with my dad at this point. Um which, you know, he and I used to fight a lot, and I used to try and describe my depression to him, and he would just tell me like, "Oh, well just tell yourself to be happy." And I think I was like crying at that point. I might have screamed at him and was like, if it was that easy, do you think I'd be this miserable every fucking day? And I think it's sometimes hard for people to not be able to fully grasp it without experiencing it themselves. Because then when COVID hit and it was like lockdown and, you know, having to stay indoors and work being limited and everything like that, he came to me and he's like, I'm really sorry. I finally get it. Like
Yeah.
I'm finally understanding a little bit more um of your situation. And I think since then, like he and I have been able to like have conversations instead of just talking. um I don't know what my point was.
I don't know what my
Oh
opinion is
yeah,
90% of the time, so that's
our
okay.
like our parents generation, there's a huge stigma against therapy as well as like being weak. And then also it's even worse for like men because
Oh,
again,
100%.
it's weak to talk about your emotions.
Right. And
And
it's also just like, not even specifically just for men, although it is a huge problem in terms of men's mental health.
yes.
But just in terms of the like previous generations and stuff, is that there is a widely believed opinion that uh, mental health issues are not a thing. Like, it's just for attention, or oh, you're just sad, or like it, like, stuff like that. And it's a huge. I hate it.
Yeah.
Because it is making people feel like their thoughts and feelings and emotions and what is actually happening to them um,
Is not valid.
is not valid.
Hmm.
You're valid, people.
Right. Like
Yeah.
it it does hurt my heart like when people think that they're the things they're excited about or the things that bring them down, or you know, that just their everyday feelings are not recognized, or um you know, I don't want to say appreciated, but like I'm not really sure what word I'm trying to look for with this one, but like just like they don't matter to other people.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that everyone has to sit there and matter about how you're feeling and everything like that. But when you go to someone and you try and explain yourself and they brush you off and you feel so invisible, it's it's such a detrimental and like demeaning kind of feeling.
Right. And it's causing more problems.
Exactly. And then people internalize things, and then we continue to not talk about it, and then we continue to internalize everything, and then we don't speak up for ourselves, and then, you know, we spiral and we don't know what to do, and then we get frozen, and then things
And
can
then we
sometimes
started
become
losing people.
drastic. Exactly. It's either, we lose them or they snap, and, you know, that's a whole other can of worms. But,
Yeah.
and I think I talked about this before, like, in the day and age where we're not creating everything that's around us, we're not, you know, gardening and crafting and building, like, with our own hands, everything around us. We are in such like a rotation of doing the same thing every day that it's almost like we lose a sense of purpose.
Yeah, I feel that
And
all the
it kind
time.
of, yeah, same. And it kind of goes into, it goes really, really easily into the next point about like burnout being really, really bad. Like, I just worked 10 days in a row, had a
Yep.
4-day weekend, and I'm fucking exhausted today.
Yeah, that's because it's not even just work, it's everything else.
Oh,
You've got
totally.
work, we've got like we're doing this, we've got stream stuff to deal with, you got
Mm-hmm.
personal stuff to deal with. Um it like it has it has been a rough couple of weeks, honestly.
Yeah,
And it
no, it's
happens
a
over and over
lot.
again. Like you get burnt out and you like
You step back a little. It's usually
right.
what I try and do.
But then also at the same time, it's hard to step back and take the time for yourself because then you are turning it back to what we were talking about earlier, which is that you feel like you're letting other people down.
Yeah, or you're
And
guilty because you're not
right,
holding yourself to your own standards either.
like last week when we were going to go record, and I was like, hey, can we take the week off? I felt so terrible. I was bent out of shape about it all week. Honestly,
Mm-hmm.
was like, why didn't I just like force myself to, just like to get up and like we'll just do the thing. Like we just got to get it done. And like, yeah. So that's been what's going on in my head all week.
And like side by side comparison, I'm totally unbothered. Like, I want you to tell me when you're not feeling good enough to do it, because at the end of the day, this is our podcast. Oh my god, fourth wall. Sorry. I hate
What?
myself. Nothing. Talking about the podcast while doing the podcast. Um Stupid. Um but like, this is our podcast, and at the end of the day, if you need a week, I'm so more than happy to let you have it, and I want you to do that guilt free.
Yeah.
But I know
See, and you
exactly
say
what you're
that,
thinking
and
because I would do the
I
same
hear you
fucking
saying
thing.
that, and I register that you said that. Next time it happens, I'm absolutely going to be ridden with guilt again because that's just how it
See,
works.
no, and if I was in that position, I would be feeling the exact same way as you do, and
Yeah.
be like, okay, cool, that's really great. I'm glad that you forgive me for it, but I still feel like shit.
Right. And see, like when I first said it, and you were like, it was like honestly, yeah, like let's do that. Like I am like feeling it so bad right now. It's like, cool, great. Is she saying that because it's the truth, or is it like is she saying that because I said it first and she doesn't want to make me feel bad?
No,
But
because like,
realistically, I know you were saying it because you were feeling it too, but it was
yeah,
like in my head, the other
no, I
side
know
of
you
the coin is
overthink.
always there.
Yeah, and it's almost like part of the burnout makes you really, really even feel just worse
Yeah, I was
about it
super
all the
stressed about
time.
it all week. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my god, why did I
And
do
then
that?
and then it like is like cyclical and makes it even worse because you're so
Yeah,
stressed about one thing because you're like, I'm trying to step back to save myself from the mental exhaustion,
all right. And
and
then I
I'm
went to
mentally
work and I spent all
exhausting
day at work
myself.
being stressed about work and then getting
Exactly.
tired after work. And then I would come home and I canceled a bunch of streams last week too. Because I couldn't do it. And I was taking depression naps all the time.
Yeah.
And because I just did not have any motivation to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And by not doing anything, that was making me even more stressed and causing more problems.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're like, oh my God, my entire week was just completely consumed with depression naps and work, and I didn't do anything. And I don't
Yep,
know what to do right now because I feel like I'm behind and I'm not
exactly.
keeping up with my own schedules and I'm like letting myself down. And it's like, where do we draw the line
Right.
of like, it's okay? It's okay to have this week to let everything kind of fall apart, let it be what it is, make sure that we're doing the bare minimum, and that's okay. That is what we can give at that moment.
Right. Like
And
you just got like you can't always give
100%.
100% of what it like you can give 100% of what you have,
Right.
but that's not necessarily 100% of what is normal. Like what is like
Right.
what normal is the wrong word. I hate the word normal. I don't know why I said it. Um, of like
With
your
standard.
your typical day to day or like your week or whatever. It's okay to not like to give, I don't know, 75% of your regular day to day life. It's okay to give 75% one day and 20% the next
Mm-hmm.
because you're giving 100% of what you have.
Right.
Sometimes that's all you have to give.
Exactly. And yeah, it's just about maximizing what you can do when you have the energy to do it. And this then we're going to segue into self care. This is a good segue spot. Um,
I figured we were gonna just segue at like the end of our part two
oh, okay. Yeah, no, we
after
can
we
do
talk
that.
about everything.
Oh, yeah, no, we can do that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Um. But yeah, it's like you just have to live your life
Mm-hmm.
as best as you can,
Right.
doing what you can,
Right.
and like it's way easier said than done.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
like this is not us telling you to forget your problems and
Or run from
and
them.
just live your life. This is us telling you to live your life in spite like despite having like despite's not the word I'm looking for. Live your life with your problems and do what you can to help yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's therapy or some self-care stuff that we're going to talk about in part 2 of our mental health chat next episode.
Mm-hmm.
Or a hobby, picking up a new hobby, doing some like rekindling an old hobby, listen to
Oh
some
my
music,
gosh.
read a book, go for a
Hobbies?
walk.
Yeah. Oh, exercise, getting sunlight is a huge one. Even if you
Yeah,
go for like a 10-minute walk, huge.
yeah,
Losing my hobbies that I used to have was one of the
yeah,
most depressing things. I stopped playing video
100%.
games for years.
Yeah,
And now
but
I don't go a single day without playing a video
I
game.
know.
It's mostly
Yeah,
because Genshin and I have dailies to do.
yeah,
But
but anyways, we'll get back into the hobby stuff when we're talking about our self-care next episode.
Mhm.
So this episode and next episode both coming out today. So if you are listening to this on release day, make sure you go listen to the next one because it's
Yeah,
also already out.
it's all tied together.
Right, exactly. So yeah, we're gonna be talking about some having like setting and keeping some boundaries in your life, kind of listening to yourself and knowing your own headspace and your own mind and all that kind of stuff. As well, we'll touch on some more self care stuff towards the end of
Hmm.
next episode as well. So yeah, come back for that, and yeah,
Yeah.
stay cool, I guess.
Stay classy, you cats. Damn it, that sounded way
Stay
cooler in my
frosty.
head. That was so cool
There,
in
I
my
made yours
head.
sound better because mine
Thank you.
sounded stupid.
Thank you for
Oh my
that.
god. All right, you guys, we'll catch you next episode.
Bye, you guys. See you next time.